guys. My name is Birdie, and I'm here with,
Miss Williams.
and we're going to answer questions about 9/11.
Okay.
Where were you when you first heard about the events on September 11th, 2001?
I was at home. I was living in Fort Carson, Colorado on a military
I was
base.
in my dorm room at the University of West Alabama.
I was at Austin High School. I was a senior and I was in AP English class, first period.
I was a second grader at Wills Valley Elementary School.
So I was in fourth grade and I was in PE because, kindergarten, through 6, you have PE in the morning.
So for me personally, I actually was only 2 years old at the time. I'm one of the younger teachers here.
I was at work. I worked for an insurance company.
I was at home in Arizona getting ready to go to work.
I was sitting on the couch at home with my newborn daughter and giving her a bottle.
I was getting ready to go to school in Edwards Air Force Base, California. I was a freshman in high school.
I was actually in the 10th grade at Austin High School in the E building. I was in English class.
I was getting ready for one of my college classes.
So I was in Asheville, North Carolina.
September 11, 2001, I was in college at Calhoun. Actually, a buddy and myself had decided to skip class, and we got in his Tahoe and went across the Swan Creek to look for places to duck hunt.
I was 19 years old. I was going to the American Musical and Dramatic Academy in New York City, so I was living on the Upper West Side. And that morning I was actually performing on stage at the time, and I was about 1.5 to 2 miles north of the site.
But when we finally realized that it was a supposed terrorist attack, I was in shock and a little scared because I didn't know what was about to happen.
I really thought something was wrong with my TV because it was on every station. I kept trying to find something else to watch before I went to class.
My first reaction was I was very scared. I was nervous.
Well, since I was 17 years old, I actually understood what was happening. I was in English class, and I just remember the teacher from across the hallway ran into our classroom in the middle of class and said, "They're gonna bomb the White House!" And I just remember that we were panicked. Back in those days, there were televisions that you had to roll on a cart into the classroom, and so our teacher really quick ran and got a television, and they started playing the news.
It was really sad. It was super sad because they were doing the live coverage.
Disbelief I thought that it was a joke or that they were filming a movie or something.
It just made me sick. I mean, nobody knew what was going on.
Confused and hurt.
Oh my God, you don't know. And she told me what had happened, and I said, I don't believe you. And so we walked outside, and sure enough, when I walked out of the building, and the way New York City is built, all of the streets are on a grid. So your Broadway, Lexington Avenue, all the avenues go north and south, and all the numbered streets go east and west. And I was on West 73rd, and I walked onto Broadway, and it was just a sea of millions of people all walking in one direction. All the traffic was moving in one direction, and it was the most bizarre, surreal thing you can imagine. I mean, all the stores were closing down. All the ATMs at the time were out of money because everybody was taking their money out of the banks.
What changes did you notice in your country or in your community after 9/11?
My community changed a lot. I was on a military base, and it immediately went on shutdown. It was hard then, after that, to get on and off of military bases. So when we would go off the military base to, say, go to the mall or something like that, we would have to be in line for hours, sometimes trying to get back on because the cars will be lined up so far.
It was a scary time, but it was where everybody really came together. Everybody wanted to help. My brother actually drove up to New York City to try to help with some of the rescue.
Nationwide, that's when you started getting a lot of security, whether it's at large football games in the airports and the security that we have to go through now, even walking in the schools, that all changed after that point.
People are being discriminated against that or have nothing to do with this. That was interesting to me.
I was second grade, so I remember a lot of people trying to come together, but they didn't realize, like you said, that they were looking at other people differently.
Right.
So I grew up in a border town, so Yuma. It's on the border of Mexico, California, and Arizona. And it is both really big for immigrants, people coming over from Mexico, and it's really huge for military. I know that my friends who are families of immigrants were kind of startled by the events that happened, to the point that some of my friends ended up moving back to Mexico. And on the other side, with the military town, there was a big influx of people coming in. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that Yuma, the terrain, with it being like sand dunes and the heat during the day and the cold nights, it actually matches the climate of the Middle East where they were going to be deployed. And so while YPG is usually for Marines, all 4 branches were being sent and practicing on the areas around my town just to get prepared for war.
So the country as a whole became a lot more patriotic and America focused. People also got a little fearful of people that were different, or people that are of other citizenships. I'll say that.
One of the good changes is that everybody was on a united front.
What do you think is important for us to remember and talk about 9/11 today?
I think that it is very important to remember, simply because things like this can happen
A lot of
again.
really good people lost their lives that day, and that changed the dynamic of our country. And that was the first attack that we had to really look back at and say, okay, man, look, we are somewhat vulnerable, and it changed a lot of people's lives forever. And they lost valuable people, and we have a lot of heroes and a lot of families that I have memories for life.
I think it's important because when I was younger, I didn't realize how impactful war actually was. You hear and you study in school, oh, this happened in 1912, there was this war, or in 1941, this devastation happened and it sent us to war. And 9/11 is one of those. It's the equivalent of, what brought the U.S. into World War II.
And it's the men and the women out there today, the firefighters that lost their lives, police, first responders, that are trying to bring you up and make you understand that freedom isn't free without those kinds of people. And so you should never just become complacent and think that we are invincible, because we're not.
Yes.
Because it's a really important portion of history. I think that there are several different things that, unfortunately, that will happen in a lifetime, where you will always remember where you were, what you were doing when you found out.
And I witnessed on TV the second plane hit the second tower, and that was something that I'll never forget. There are very few things in life that you remember where you were when it happened. I remember when the Challenger spaceship went down. I was sitting in Miss Mill's lap at La Petite in kindergarten. I remember 9/11, where I was, who I was with. I can still tell you the guy. I can tell you the color of his Tahoe. I can tell you everything about that. I can tell you, where I was when, my wife, said yes when I asked her to propose. I can tell you what I thought, how it felt, what I was wearing when my 2 kids were born. So it's right up there with those, because it's such a shocking thing that you never think can actually happen to your
I think it's important because I think that it's something that people always need to be mindful that the world is much bigger than just where we are right here. It can be scary, but it also can be a time of hope, and it needs to be we need to just all remember to work together. And proud to be American.
You will not understand anything like that until it happens to you and that you see that. But I want y'all to know that if something like that happens to you all, I want y'all to remember the heroism that people, our country coming together to help each other in such a trying time. So if anything does happen like that in you all's lifetime, just remember to be loving and caring and take care.
Just to understand that life is short and you shouldn't take every day for granted. You don't ever know what's going to happen.
Thank you. That it's a major part of history that I was able to live through, and you need to cherish every day because those people went to work just like it was going to be a regular day, and they never made it home to their families again. So if you have people in your family that you love, make sure you tell them because you never know if that's the last time you meet. All right.
You never know what's going to happen and how it will affect you. And 9/11 is actually one of my earliest memories, which is kind of sad to think about, but that's one thing that I remember from elementary school. And just be thankful for your family because a lot of people lost their families that day.
And another thing is that just to love one another and show kindness to one another, because you really don't know. I mean, people went to work, went to school, and when they got out of school, they didn't have their parents. And some people literally never left work. And you just never know when something unfortunate like that might happen. So it may not be on the scale of 9/11, but to show love, to be
to everyone,
and to show kindness. And then also something that I didn't even think about when you say to everyone, we talked about certain people. It's like, we're one America, but y'all aren't included. Then show kindness to everybody and not discriminate based on people's country of origin.
Thank you. I would like you to understand that no matter where you are, when something large happens, it impacts you, whether it be for a day or years to come.
Okay, thank you.
That you could be going along in your daily life, and then all of a sudden things can change in an instant. So many lives were changed that day, and it was just a scary, scary time to know that we can be attacked like that.
I think one of the most important lessons you can learn is that, in a way, history constantly repeats itself. And if we know that and we can learn from it, then maybe we can prevent certain things from happening.
Yes, ma'am.
I would say that to understand that things can be really, really scary, and it can look like that the world is completely ending, because it was a really scary time. But you grow from it, and you come together as a country, and you can do incredible things.
We're probably, we were a better country afterwards because of all the patriotism. And I really wish that students and adults would get patriotic again.
I'd like y'all to understand that not every day is guaranteed. Y'all need to realize that we're here for your safety, and these protocols that we now have are designed to keep y'all safe.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Humanity is full of good and bad. It is a mixed bag. Every day becomes history. Every day becomes history. And you guys it's important that you value and show people that you love them.